So you've probably heard this wild headline about the US wanting to buy Greenland. It sounds like something out of a comedy sketch, right? But what if I told you it's actually one of the most serious geopolitical moves on the world stage today?
I mean, it's the first question that pops into your head, isn't it? It just sounds completely nuts. Why would a global superpower be so obsessed with what, to most of us, looks like the world's biggest freezer?
And look, if you're skeptical, you're not wrong. On the surface, it makes zero sense. The place is enormous, freezing, and almost entirely covered in ice. The population is smaller than a lot of towns. And maybe most importantly, it already belongs to Denmark, a key NATO ally. So the US can already operate there. What is really going on? Let's dig in.
To really get this, the first piece of the puzzle isn't new at all. We actually have to go back in time. We're talking about a ghost of the Cold War, and it's all about some terrifyingly simple geography. Okay, so this all comes down to a concept called the Great Circle Route. You know how flat maps can kind of trick your brain? Well, on a globe, the shortest way for a missile to get from Russia to the United States isn't east or west, it's straight up and over the North Pole.
And bam! Guess what sits right in the middle of this missile superhighway? Greenland. Having radar stations there gives the US precious extra minutes of warning time. And when we're talking about nuclear war, those minutes, well, they're everything. They could literally be the difference between some kind of response and total annihilation. Okay, so if it's that critical for national survival, you'd assume the island is just bristling with American bases and troops, right? Like Fort Knox on ice. But you'd be wrong.
Actually, the story for the last half-century has been the complete opposite. The US has been pulling out. They've been closing bases, shutting down radar sites, and just generally shrinking their footprint there for decades. Which, you have to admit, makes this sudden interest to buy the whole thing even more confusing.
So what gives? Why the massive U-turn? Why the sudden urgency to not just have a base, but to own the entire island? Well, it's because the world itself has fundamentally changed. Two huge things have changed.
And this brings us right up to today. We're not just talking about old Cold War strategies anymore. We're talking about a brand new Arctic, one that's all about new money, new resources, and new global powers making their moves.
This is the absolute core of it. The way the world sees Greenland has completely flipped. It's gone from being seen as the static, frozen, listening post to being a dynamic, strategic hub for future wealth and global trade. The game has totally, completely changed.
And here are the two big drivers. First, the ice is melting. Climate change is opening up these legendary new shipping lanes that could shave weeks off travel time between Asia and Europe. Plus, it's unlocking access to massive oil and gas reserves. Second, underneath all that melting ice is a literal treasure chest of rare earth minerals. You know, the stuff you absolutely need for everything from your phone to advanced fighter jets.
Okay, but that brings us back to the big question, the one we keep asking. The US and Denmark are allies. They're in NATO together. They have access. So why this talk of buying it? Why the obsession with total ownership?
Because this isn't about partnership anymore. It's about control. It's about making a preemptive move on the global chessboard to block a major rival before they can even get their piece on the board. And the real reason boils down to one word: China. Beijing has been pouring money and influence into the Arctic, and some politicians in Greenland are very open to Chinese investment in their mines and ports. For Washington, the thought of China gaining a strategic foothold there, right on America's northern doorstep, is an absolute non-starter. Buying Greenland is the ultimate guarantee. It's a way to make sure it stays firmly in the Western camp, forever.
But you know, it goes even deeper than that. This is also a quiet signal about how the US is thinking about the future of its alliances. In a world that feels more and more unstable, owning a critical asset like Greenland is seen as the only real way to guarantee American security for the long haul, no matter what happens with alliances 50 years from now.
So when you put all these pieces together, you start to see that this was never just some weird real estate proposal. It's about something much, much bigger.
In the end, it was never really about the ice. It's about who controls the next half-century. The push to buy Greenland is all about locking down future resources, controlling new trade routes, and blocking rivals in what's quickly becoming the next great area of global competition. This isn't a real estate deal. It's the opening shot in the fight for the 21st century.